Hello and welcome to How to Make More Sales with me, Anna Payne, supporting you to make more sales in a way that feels good for you and your clients. If you're ready for more sales, more impact, more success, and more money on your terms, you're in the right place. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we are talking about personal outreach, the good, the bad, maybe even a little bit of the ugly, but most importantly, how to do it properly in a way that feels good and that gets you results, that makes you sales. Right now, personal outreach is one of the most effective ways to make sales. And if you are not doing personal outreach, or if you're not doing it well or consistently, I am positive that you are leaving a significant amount of money on the table. There is untapped potential in your business, which is great because you have the opportunity to unlock that revenue potential. Now, I see all the time people feel really resistant to doing outreach. They feel it's almost the epitome of being a pushy salesperson. My position is that the problem is not on actual outbound sales or outreach. The problem is how badly it is often done. But when you do this well, and you do it consistently, it is so powerful. So my job, my mission today is in under 20 minutes to give you a framework to help you to do this well in your business. Okay, context. Our job in sales is always to be creating opportunities. The more opportunities we create, the better our pipeline looks and the more sales come through. So when it comes to creating opportunities, I tend to split this activity into two camps. The first camp is what I call lighthousing. I will explain. And the second is door knocking. So lighthousing, you are the lighthouse. You stand still and you shine out your message for other people to see and respond to. You want to attract inbound leads, attraction marketing. So your content, messaging, visibility, that is your light and you are shining it out, broadcasting, being visible. And when your messaging and your execution is good, when you stay consistent as a lighthouse, this is definitely valuable. It compounds, it builds trust over time, but it's only going to bring some sales. Imagine the top percentile of potential sales within your audience. So the people who are most ready to buy, the people who are already a definite yes, and seeing your content just prompts them to make that decision. And even then, perhaps not all of them, because even your best lighthousing will not reach everybody who needs you. So some of your warmest leads are not seeing your posts on social media. Some are not on your email list, or they don't open that particular email. Some saw something and maybe meant to come back to it, but then life and business moved on. They got busy, they got distracted. Or some people saw it and thought, oh, I wonder if that might be right for me. They weren't 100% sure, but they didn't actually take that any further. And as the market that we are operating in has shifted, as the economy has shifted, I think for lots of us, this pool of ready to buy people, the people who see a piece of content and just say yes, they just take the action and they just buy, that's smaller. You might feel that too yourself in your business. I know that a year or two ago, I could post and show up and be the lighthouse and people would buy. No problem. Now that still happens, but the volume of sales that come from is smaller. So if I want to continue to grow my sales and to serve my clients and build my business, I have to replace those sales that are not coming through that lighthouse activity. And that's where the door knocking comes in. So you will be pleased, I'm sure, to know by door knocking, I mean not real doors, metaphorical digital doors. So it's outbound lead generation, proactively starting conversations, doing outreach, creating connection and conversation. Because if we only ever wait for people to come to us, we are going to miss opportunities. Now, for most businesses that sell business to consumer or business to entrepreneur, your sales are probably going to come up from a mix of both inbound and outbound, lighthouse and door knocking. But at the moment, the proportion of sales that come from outbound strategies for me and for many of my clients is higher than ever. And I think that's the same across the board. And if you actually sell business to bigger corporate organizations, then I believe that proactive strategies, outreach, door knocking, whatever you want to call it, this will be absolutely at the heart of your success. You cannot just be the lighthouse and wait for these kinds of buyers to come to you. That doesn't work. That, in my opinion, that has never worked. So more than ever, you need a good strategy for doing outreach. So before we get into it, let's address the elephant in the room and acknowledge the discomfort. Reaching out to somebody directly, starting that conversation, putting yourself out there, it can bring up all sorts of thoughts and fears. What if I get it wrong? What if I sound pushy? What if I damage the relationship? What if they tell me to get lost? And I get it. But here is what I want to say. If you approach people with honesty, with integrity, with genuine care, and with the intention of being of real service and offering to help and engage in a conversation, as opposed to selling, pushing for the sale, trying to close somebody down, it is actually very hard to get this wrong because it's human connection. It's just about relationships. I have been in sales for almost 3 decades, which still feels wild when I say it out loud like that. How is that possible? However, it is. And in those almost 3 decades, I can honestly probably count on one hand, definitely less than 2 hands, the number of people who have really taken exception to me reaching out to them over all those years, going right the way back to the start of this century. And that's a pretty good record. And it's because I do approach it with respect, with integrity, and I'm doing it in a way that feels human. It's not about pushing, it's not about selling, it's not about always be closing. So really, all these things that we think might happen, these terrible responses, these angry people, when you do it properly, it just doesn't happen. As I say, I can think of between probably 5 and 7 people who might have taken exception to me over a really long sales career. When I think of all the successes and all the amazing clients and brilliant, beautiful relationships and impactful work that I've been able to create as a result of outreach, I'll take that. But when I first started doing outreach, outbound selling, did I hate it at first? Yes, very much so. Might you hate it if it's new to you? Also, yes. But I know that you'll start to love it when you see how easy it can be and how quickly doing it will impact your bottom line. It's so easy to create results. It's so quick to create results. And people procrastinate on it because it feels difficult. So instead, they invest time and money and energy in these really convoluted scaling strategies that their business might not be ready for, when actually just having a simple conversation can result in you being paid that day or the next week. The power of this should not be underestimated. So will it feel a bit clunky at first? Yes, maybe, if you're not used to doing it. Will you refine it over time? Definitely. Does it get easier? Also, yes, 100% yes. And this is sales fitness in action. You do the activity, you do the reps, and you get better. You build your sales fitness. And I will also say this, most of the people that you should be reaching out to are not going to be strangers. They already know you in some capacity. There's already some connection, there's some warmth. And actually, if you feel, well, that's great, but I don't have any warm relationships or connections, I would really encourage you to think on that. Who do you know in your world that knows you, that likes you, that trusts you? And even if they're not your target client, who do they know? Who can they connect you with? Who can they introduce you to? How can they help you? And you make it your mission to make sure that people do know you. So you start to get out there and create these relationships so that you can have these types of conversations. Another important point to note is that if you are more introverted, I am very introverted, or if you're trying to reduce your time on Zoom, also me, this can be a brilliant way to sell because you don't have to rely on sales calls. A lot of clients don't want a sales call either. They are very happy to have a relaxed conversation in the DMs with you. So when done well, this works for you and it works for them. Win-win, which again is what good sales is all about. Now, I've had some seriously bad outreach messages in recent weeks, which is what made me feel compelled to record this podcast episode. I'm talking about the messages that put you off buying entirely, maybe even stuff that makes you hit the block button, or if you're not quite being your best self, send some sort of snarky reply back. So how do we do outreach properly to make sure that instead of eliciting that kind of response, we get positive conversations and we build relationships and ultimately increase our sales? Well, I teach what I call the 3 Ps of outreach. So follow these golden rules. The first P, personalization. Every single message should feel like it was written just for that person. Use their name, reference something specific to them, or why you are reaching out to them. Generic copy and paste messages get ignored. Personalized messages stand out immediately. And there's this thing in psychology called reciprocity. If you have taken time, if you have expressed something personal, people feel more compelled to respond, to reciprocate. And these messages stand out because they are rare. So personalization is your first P, your first rule of thumb for how to do outreach well. Second P, is point. As in, get to the point and get to the point quickly. Be clear about why you are reaching out. No awkward small talk or meandering open questions back and forth that everybody knows is just going to lead to a pitch. No pretending it is something else. People can feel when a pitch is coming. So just be honest and upfront. Say, I'm reaching out to you today because, or I've connected with you because, or I thought I'd message you because I wanted to ask you. Just tell them what the point is. I guarantee people instantly will respond to that, as opposed to when you start to ask these meandering questions where people feel like, I know you're going to pitch me, I know you're going to pitch me. So they put their guard up. Sales is all about trust and safety. So by being upfront about why you're contacting them, absolutely that creates that trust and safety because people aren't anticipating something. They know exactly what is happening. And then the third P, super important, do not miss this one. Permission. In every area of sales, every single thing I teach is all about permission. It is such a small, subtle shift, but permission-based selling feels so much better as a salesperson, but it gets way, way better engagement and outcomes because it makes your audience feel autonomous, respected, it makes them feel in control. So for example, if I was going to send somebody a message about something that I wanted to offer them or invite them to or ask if they were interested, I would personalize the message. I would say, I'm sending this to you because of whatever reason. Then I'd say, would you like me to share more about this? Shall I send the details? Instead of just saying, here's the link to sign up, here's the link to buy, here's the sales page, here's the application form, because that feels like you're just slamming them with a link to buy. Whereas permission-based, would you like to see the details? That one tiny shift really changes the perception of your message and how it lands for people. So permission-based selling in everything. And I talked about this in last week's episode on sales calls. Ask permission before you present the pitch, the solution, and the same in your messages. Ask permission. And it works in your favor because a lot of people are curious, especially if you let them know that you're contacting them because you feel they'd be a great fit, because you feel that you've got something that's very relevant to something you know about them. People like to feel chosen. And also people are quite nosy. People are curious. They want to know what's going on. Who else is nosy? I'm definitely nosy. I love to know what's going on. So, people will say, yeah, sure, let me take a look. But by doing that, by them saying yes, which a lot of people will say yes, sure, send me the information, people are doing two things. One, they're giving you permission to sell to them. And two, they're expressing that they have some level of interest in what you offer. And that is important. Okay, I said 3 Ps, but actually, I'm going to add a 4th P off the cuff. I think this is important. And I would like to say that this should go unsaid, but some of the examples I'm saying at the moment say it doesn't. So 4th P, professional. It sounds obvious, but I have seen some really terrible outreach recently, especially in the start of the year, the last few weeks. Wrong names, pushy follow-ups, sarcastic tone, entitlement, cheeky gifts if you don't respond, questions that make no sense, or really meandering, trying to be your friend questions that nobody, quite frankly, has time to answer. I don't even have time to have proper DM conversations with my actual real-life friends. So if you are outsourcing your outreach, your lead generation, and I know lots of people do, please check what is being sent on your behalf because this is your reputation. And while you might have outsourced it because you hate the idea of doing it yourself, the person doing it on your behalf could actively be damaging your brand, however well-intended these actions are. And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand across several platforms and with lots of people that I know of or that I've met before or that I know in real life. And the messages that are being sent from them, inverted commas, they're not from them and they're really poor. So if you have outsourced this, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm sure there are lots of people who do this really well, but just make sure that you check on what is being sent and have a look at how much response does it get? What kind of responses does it get? Does it elicit positive responses or is it mainly just ignored? So check in on that. Okay. So you've got a bit of a framework on the type of message to send with your 4 Ps. So it is personal, it is to the point, it's permission-based, and it is professional. Now, who do you actually send these messages to? Start with the people who are already in your world. So current clients who might be ready for a next step, past clients that you may want to help again, warm inquiries, people you've had conversations with that haven't yet come to sales, networking contacts, people who engage with your content, email subscribers, people who click links in your emails, people you met at events, friends in your wider network who follow your work and would be supportive. All of these kinds of people already know, like, and trust you to some degree. So you are building on something that already exists when you do outreach to these people. Next question, which platform? Well, the answer to that depends on where you have their contact details. For me, I am always going to prefer, if I can, to do it in WhatsApp over email. I think it's something like 80% of WhatsApp messages get opened and read versus like it's really low. It's in the teens of emails. So WhatsApp or DMs. And I know myself, if somebody sends me an email, very often I think I'll wait till I'm at my desk and I've got my glasses on and I'll sit down and I'll be at my laptop and I'll reply to that properly. Whereas if it's a text, I don't know why, but I just like tap out something quickly and I reply and it's done. So I think if you can WhatsApp them, you can DM on socials. So I use WhatsApp, I use Facebook Messenger. If somebody's been chatting to me on Instagram or on LinkedIn, I'll use the DM function on those platforms too. For this kind of personal outreach, email is probably my least preferred due to how busy inboxes are. But if it's email or nothing, because you don't have any other means to contact them, do email. So, actions from today's podcast. Here is what I would encourage you to do. Choose 3 to 5 people that you would love to work with. Keep your message simple, personal, permission-based, professional. You're not trying to close a sale in one message. You are just trying to start a conversation with these people. Reach out to them. Reach out to them today and see how it goes. And if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. Personal outreach done well is about connection, conversation, relationships, and service. And right now, in a market where people are more considered, more selective, they're taking longer to buy, they need to feel more trust, more safety, that kind of real human approach matters now more than ever. So please do not just sit back and wait for people to come. Don't think, well, I want more sales, so I just need to post more or I just need to email more. Be the person who does that, but also starts the conversation. So it's a 2-prong approach. Set yourself a number and commit to that number. So start 10 conversations a day. Could you do that? Does that sound too easy? Well, start 20. If that sounds wildly unrealistic, commit to starting 2 or starting 1. Start where you are and build from there, because all of this works when you do the work. Outreach is the number one way that I am getting results right now, and that is over live launching, it's over email marketing, it's over social media. It is the number one thing for me that is getting results. And I am seeing that with my clients too, again and again and again. And that is across the board, whether it's high ticket or whether it's low ticket. So I would love for you to give this a try to see how it works for you. And as always, let me know. And thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you have, please hit subscribe on the podcast. Please leave me a review. Please share this episode with somebody that you know would find it useful, and tag me on socials to let me know that you've listened. Every single bit of support that you give with this podcast is hugely appreciated. And I will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.